It is Shot of Hope Live. Happy Memorial Day. I am Mickey the Kid, joined by mi compadre, mi hermana, or hermano, my son, Jacob.
Yeah, what's up?
My hijo. Hijo, that's what you are. You'd be my hijo. What's good, dude? I mean, obviously, you got a great start to your week.
Yeah.
Going into Monday. Tomorrow's Memorial Day, the official Memorial Day. It's Memorial Day weekend, obviously, right now. But you got some good shit happening for a drug trafficking felon.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got a job finally after months.
How hard was it?
It was so hard. So hard. Well, for one, having the record was stopping me, but not only on top of that is I don't get my license back until September. So not having a license on top of being a felon made it, dude, next to impossible. I mean, you saw me. I'd be on here for hours in the morning trying to get a job, and I'd get phone calls, and once we got to the felony thing, it was a big deal, or if we got to the license thing, it was a big deal.
Everybody wants a driver's license.
Yeah,
that's the numero uno is I got to have a license.
But the good news is I got a job across the street as a quality technician working with chemicals in a lab,
which is crazy. So I was, that's the kind of thing that I was blown away over by it. I was like, oh,
not even roofing companies would hire me, but they're gonna put me in a lab with making sure all the chemicals are the right levels.
Yeah,
so.
Making sure that the quality control guys have all the best stuff available to them. Which is, I mean, who better as helping out chemists than the guy who knows how to move drugs.
Yeah. So it's cool. So I get to start Tuesday with a new job.
Yeah, different speed, different time, different everything for you right now, man. And that's, I guess that's the beauty of all of it is that, what would you say was the biggest lesson you learned during this waiting period? To get a gig.
Oh my God, dude! My biggest lesson was learning patience and powerlessness. Is that dude? Seriously, like the patience thing, just because, I mean, you saw me, I was starting to lose hope after a little while, and I was getting in this funk, and then...
Yeah, the enemy wants to get right in your head and let you know that you're going to be a failure the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You're never going to make it. This is going to be your life. You're never going to get your license. It's going to make you feel hopeless all the way around the board.
Yeah.
But somehow you made it through.
Yep.
And a lot of prayers, a lot of meetings, a lot of little bit of everything.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So powerlessness and patience were it. So
patience probably powerlessness for sure was the big one. I know that was a big one for you. It's just because you did the work.
Yeah.
It's not like you weren't putting in the time.
Yeah,
exactly. You were getting up every morning, coming in here, either grinding on your phone or on a computer, getting in front of stuff on LinkedIn, Monster, Career Builder, whatever it is. I mean, you were doing everything and anything to get a gig.
Yeah.
Go to a temp place, funny enough, which would have been the last place I would have expected a recruiter to be like, hey, yeah, let's give this to, because I know that, like, for me in my job, which, it's, you see that, like somebody who has a fresh drug trafficking felony, I'm just like, yeah, bro, I can't even submit you. I got nothing to.
Yeah, it's less than 3 years.
Yeah,
yeah, it's hard.
Like the one place, even the one place that accepts places that people with felonies, it's like 7 years.
Yeah.
So, when you're man, and that's the hardest phone call to have with somebody too. Is like when you got a guy on the other line. And he tells you, hey, man, I'm a father. I got 2 kids, man. I got some trouble a couple years ago. I'm just trying to get my shit together so that I can take care of my 2 little daughters. I got a guy like that right now, man.
Yeah.
That and it's the most vexing call because you have to tell that guy, bro, there's nothing I can do for you, man. I mean, even the place that has the lowest amount will accept a felony has to have 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
You're telling me it was 2 years ago. I'm like, man, and that's the problem, and here we are as drug addicts, alcoholics, whatever, your issue is. going through that, and man, I remember what that was like, having the felony possession. I remember that, I was making $19 an hour, sucking. I hate to always tell the story, but it's so true of how you can go from $19 an hour sucking out shitters, septic tanks, and grease traps at restaurants to becoming, from there, somebody opening a door for you because you shared your story.
Yeah.
And then giving you trust and faith, or giving you trust, and then you having the faith and hope that, hey, man, if I stay with this, maybe this could lead to something. And then, here I just know where I'm at 6 years, man, after a relapse that cost me some. I'd never had a felony, and now I got felonies, and so I know that that opportunity, man. It's and I know that heartache that people go through out there, and I think you and I can both attest that, having faith, just being, understanding you're powerless, but as long as you're willing to pick up the shovel, God will help you move the mountain.
Yeah, for sure.
That's at least what I know from my perspective of recovery is that as long as I'm putting in the work, shit takes care of itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's I just got to be willing to show up to make sure that, oh, there we go. Make sure that wow, that got really loud. Make sure that I'm doing my end of the bargain so that we get the right results. And if I'm not doing the right thing, then I'm probably not going to get the results I'm looking for.
Right.
And I think that's what you did.
Yeah.
That and a whole lot of Path of Exile too. And then the recent blueprints.
Yeah. That's it.
So what's the plans from after this? I mean, now that you've gotten there, obviously, if you read today's Just for Today was about good and bad feelings, about emotions and where we once were and how we respond to stuff today. So.
Yeah, I mean, what's for me next after this?
Yeah.
I
mean, where are we headed?
I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna do this for
sure
however long, and maybe do a permanent hire with these guys. I mean, I don't know. I'll see how the job is, obviously, and if it's something I'd be open to long term. But yeah, I mean, I want to sell cars is what I want to do. I want to be in some kind of sales. I want to make real good money, and
sure. And again, even with all that, everything is time.
Everything's time. So I mean, and again, I don't know what's gonna happen fucking next week or the week.
You don't know what's gonna happen if you're gonna wake up tomorrow. I was just kind of getting your feel like.
Yeah. So
I always had like a goals where I was like, my next 3 goals were gonna be this, and this. I need to get this. I need to get that. Obviously, your license, number 1, probably top of your goals.
Yeah. Well, yeah. September license, and then like we talked about for this job is like you could go to school after learning this job and go to school to further the education in this field and actually make really good money. But
you could, but I heard that the from somebody I had spoken to was telling me that like the math equations for that, the calculus that you have to know for chemistry.
If I'm just being real, dude, school is not my thing. I cannot concentrate. I'm an on-the-job training, or if like it's like a 9-month vocational school about something I want to actually learn about. I mean. Which, not saying I wouldn't want to actually learn about this, but yeah, it would be difficult for me to lock in.
Sure.
To that type of lock in.
Sure.
Crazy.
Unless you really like the gig.
Yeah.
Then you really like the gig, then you're like, oh man, how'd you come up with that equation? It's kind of like when we do the math on the blueprints.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, this is intriguing enough for me to want to invest. Trying to figure out the answer to it. So how do I get to the answer? That's the question,
right.
And if you get fascinated enough by the trade, obviously that'll be something fun that you'll want to do.
Yeah, I would enjoy actually learning about it then, so it would probably keep me focused on it. But
it was interesting. I was reading today. I was just flipping through Inner Excellence, and if you haven't picked up this book, man. I would say pick it up because there's a chapter in there right there where it talks about the 12 steps of life and the change of millions. And they talk about Bill W. and Dr. Bob, how they formed Alcoholics Anonymous, and how that they knew that the human being it's a 3-part disease: physical, mental, and spiritual. And he was talking about a famous athlete that was in there that couldn't figure it out. Was used to drink his troubles away, and finally went to a rehab and figured out that hey, you're powerless over the results of what's going to happen in life. But the thing is that if you put your trust in a power greater than yourself, that things can come to fruition. And for this guy, he went on to make millions of dollars, et cetera, and that's the beauty of of recovery, is that, man, anything can happen at any given moment, and we can be right there. We could have everything that we've ever wanted, or anything that we've ever ever wanted to pursue, and it's literally that realistic that it can happen. I mean, you're living proof.
Yeah, for sure. When we were talking about powerless in the meeting, and I was thinking about it, I've been coming to NA since before I was even a heroin addict with you, before I even got into that life. And I always heard the first step, and I always knew what it meant, but I didn't know what it meant. You know what I mean? Like, I knew what the word said, but I never understood exactly what it meant up until my last time getting clean. Because every time I would go back out, I would think that I can just have 2 beers and then I'd be good. But here's the thing: is once I have 2 beers, I can't control anything that comes after that. Basically,
right?
It's like and I knew what the powerless thing meant, but I didn't know what it meant. If that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, because obviously the first step is I'm powerless over whatever. Insert addiction, heroin, cocaine, alcohol, whatever, sex, gambling, and that my life is unmanageable. Even if you are managing your life, the biggest thing that people forget is that you have to employ a new manager, and that new manager comes in the form of either higher power, God, whatever you choose to call. I choose to call it, God, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, all that good stuff. Some people struggle with the whole God thing, so it's a higher power, it's the universe, or it's energy, or whatever it's going to be. But at the end of the day, what we fail to realize is that when we try to control the outcomes and all that other stuff, is that the unmanageability becomes, as soon as I grab a hold of the wheel, the unmanageability is I'm going to run this bitch right into the wall, and I know that. So I'm not powerless when I don't have drugs in me, if you can understand that. So the minute I put drugs inside the body, I lost all control. So I'm powerless over my addiction. And I'm going to talk about some shit that may be controversial, and a lot of people would probably not agree, but, that's to be debated. But the minute I put drugs in myself, I lose all control. The minute I'm abstinent from those drugs, because as it was explained to me, is that the drugs aren't the problem. I mean, they are the problem. They're not the problem, though. They're the medicine. They're the shit that quiets down the brain and makes everything feel okay.
Yeah.
It's the Prozac for the drug addict, whatever it is, whether it's your alcohol, going to the bar and sitting there and having coldies with everybody. That's sort of feeling like I'm part of these people.
You have a thinking problem.
Yeah, well, I have a thinking problem, and then I have a whatever happened to me when I was a child problem, and then I have a trauma problem, and I have all this unresolved shit that happened to me from the time I was born until when I realized I finally was a drug addict or alcoholic at 36 years old. So, for 36 years, I lived as this insecure, people-pleasing, everybody like me, drug addict, alcoholic, that just wanted everybody to be my friend and to love me just for who I was, until I was unlovable and until I got to the rooms of AA. It started, and then to NA after that, to where I realized that I no longer need the approval of other people. The only thing I need the approval of is my creator and my family, the immediate family, people under this roof. That's important. And maybe my employer, and I don't even need his approval, really. I mean, I'm not chasing that. You know, great, yeah, that provides me a living. Yeah. But I'm not chasing you to be my buddy. I'm not asking you to come over and take windy walks with me and fucking have a barbecue. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when I got to that point, and I did all that work, because here's the thing, I've got a sponsee right now who did steps 1 through 3. I can't, he can. I think I'll let him. Right? Asked him to do fourth, instantly went into relapse. Guess what? I haven't heard from him since Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I think about that guy every day, because I'm just like, man, you know, like how much worse does it have to get before it gets better? Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't want to see him have to go through the catastrophes and the shortcomings that are on the other side of not doing the work, because you can do 1, 2, 3. Like, you know, I'm admitting I'm powerless. My life is unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to standing. So I'm going to trust this God thing. And then 3, turn my will and my life over to the care of that, as I understand it. You know what I mean? And it's, but if I don't do the internal work, if I don't do the 4, if I don't write the inventory, I don't talk about it with either a priest or a sponsor or somebody, I don't figure out my character defects and then the shortcomings that are coming, I don't make amends to the people I fucked over, stole, robbed, cheated, and lied to, you know, all the bullshit that, if I don't get to any 4 through 9, my fucking life, I'm destined for another relapse. I'm destined for all the disaster that follows, because the key is, when we do our step work, is to get to 11 and 12. Having sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God as I understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry that out. That's 11. And then 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a direct result of these steps, I try to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all of my affairs. Right? So that's where we're trying to get to, that, and it's not some burning bush bullshit, you know, oh my God, my life is so changed. It's none of that shit. It's just, it's that I did the work. I don't think in my head anymore that I'm not good enough and I'm terrible, and I don't worry about the traumas that happened to me years ago. I don't have out a blame thrower, and I'm not going scorched earth on everybody that fucked me over. Man, if you not my life, big guy, you know, and that's what happens. So if you don't do the fucking work, inevitably the recourse is going to be more pain, more suffering, and inevitable relapse, and then consequences. Yeah, that's truly what I understand over the course of time that I've understood how addiction works. And there's nothing worse than relapse. Relapse sucks. You know, I just remember having 7 years and then walking back in that room after being gone for 5. Yeah. And man, the fucking humility that has to come in, from the humility that comes from you at that moment when you walk in. And it's crazy, because you're so ashamed and like remorseful that you just, you know, kind of turned your back on the fellowships or, you know, recovery in general. And then you walk in and what do they say? I'm so glad you're back. Yeah. Everybody just opens their arms. They want to hug you. Yeah. Can't tell you, I'm so glad you didn't die out there. Yeah. I'm so glad you made it back. And I can't tell you how that made me feel at every meeting I went to when I was living down in Florida. Yeah, for sure. You know, because I had nothing else. I was sleeping on a couch at a friend's house, my buddy Sal's, and my wife had left me, and I'm just, all I had was a car, literally in a garbage bag full of clothes that I kept in this room with all Sal's, like, he had like racks, like, you know, department store racks of like clothing, like, but they were all his clothing in like this guest room that he had. It was really weird because he had just moved into this house, so he wasn't in the house. It was, yeah, and his room was an absolute disaster, underpacked boxes, and I'm sleeping on a fucking couch there, man. And it was you know, it was crazy. It was crazy. And it's just, man, it's when you go back from when you can be reminded of not so long ago, is you were right here, and the love that was shared to you, the people that hugged you, the people that fucking. And then my dad died in 2020. That was really hard. I was 11 months clean. You know, I went through a lot of shit while I was in recovery in this time around. You know, been coming up on 6 years in July, and it's just it's a different. So the first 7 years, I'd never letting go of the ego and all the bullshit. You know, I was still Mickey the kid, the radio personality. I was still on the radio. I was doing all that shit. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Yeah. And it's just a different life today. I'm more selfless. I try to help others. And I'm not, again, I don't say that from a place of ego or pride. I'm just saying that my values have changed. And I read books, and I'm doing stuff differently, you know, and I see the same in you. Yeah. I can't tell you, or maybe you can tell me how much recovery has changed your life.
Jeez. I mean, like you just said, I mean, I feel like I'm a lot more selfless. I'm not nowhere near as self-centered as I was. I don't want to say I care for others more than myself, because I don't. I mean, obviously, I want to care about myself first, but...
Well, yeah, if you don't put your own oxygen mask on, you can't save anybody on the plane.
But, you know, I'm more eager to help out and help people than I was before, and, you know, it's just changed my whole mentality of how I look at things, too, as well. I'm a much more happy person, like, you know, before, even when I was using, like, well, you weren't around when I was using, because I was in Cleveland, but...
Well, I mean, I was around. It was just phone calls of being around, or Facebook, FaceTimes.
I would appear happy on the outside, but, you know, I was just wanting to die on the inside, and it was just rough.
I remember those feelings.
It was just rough, yeah.
It's never pleasant.
No.
You know.
Just not knowing where I'm going to be in a year from now, or what's going to happen, and...
Well, just that emptiness, you know, of like just waking up just empty.
Yeah.
Just like,
dude.
What is this?
Yeah.
What is this existence?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you know, obviously you know the story, but, you know, being at that girl's house, I had unlimited drugs, and, you know, thank God for that, because for whatever reason, I don't know what happened in that house while I was there partying, but something in me just, dude, it was like my soul left my body in that house, and then the next day I called Silver Maple.
One might say you got touched while you were there. Something touched your heart and said, "It's time. It's over. It's over. Let's get on to the real mission."
Yeah, you know, because I could have rode that out for how
till you were dead.
I was dead.
Till you were dead.
Till I was dead. Free drugs till I was dead.
Yeah.
And but thank God something happened, and went in detox, and then here I am.
It's crazy, because I can't imagine what that moment was like. Like, you just woke up and it was just like I just want to go to treatment.
Just like in the middle of the day, dude. Or maybe it was I can't remember exactly what time of day. I just remember being in this girl's room and just feeling that, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, I have to do something about this.
Yeah.
This is just it was just
and she just is still going on to the bitter end.
Still going hard. You know, I would look down at my arms. I got all these holes in my fucking arms, and I'm just like looking at myself in the mirror. I have fucking scabs. I'm just like, dude, this isn't me, dude.
It's not. I mean, you look at yourself today, dude. What you mean?
Yeah.
Not even the same. It's not even the same kid that arrived here.
Yeah.
You know, a year ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. So.
I mean, I look at how you've transformed in just a short period of time. So I picked you up June 28th of last year, and here we are, coming up in June. You know, we're in May right now, end of May, going into June probably. You know, next week, and here you are. You know, almost a year later, and I mean, you've put on muscle, you've transformed your mind, your body. You've got finally a year. You got a job. It took you a year grinding. You know. EBT cards and, you know, whatever you could do to get by, you know, and now here you are, you know, and it's and you're only 3 more months away after the end of June. You'll be July, August, and September. You'll have your license, and then
I'll have 18 months clean too.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's the thing about time, and that's what, you know, Henry, my old sponsor, used to say, time, things I must earn. Everything comes in time. And then time after, oh, you're doing that thing again. After time, whatever that is. Yeah. Hold on. Turn your microphone. Yep, there you go. Just whatever that is. Yep, right there. As soon as you like turn it a certain way, all of a sudden it zaps loud inside the deal. What I always try to do is keep the blue thing facing towards you, and then you'll be all right.
2 weeks, we still don't have a microphone stand.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you should order one on your card. Now that you want to throw that out there. Yeah, I mean, you should probably get one that mounts right to the couch there. I mean, we should probably get something there.
Yeah.
We could probably mount it right to the desk like this one and swing it right out there. Yeah, we'll have to do something like that. Maybe I'll just take apart this stand and we'll put it over there and swing it out your way, so that way you have a microphone stand. I'll be the selfless one here.
Yeah, perfect.
Sacrifice
Good
it.
on you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the guy with the time here.
Pat your back after
Yeah, absolutely. Let me break my arm, pat myself on the back right now.
Get off
Yeah, right.
wood.
Of course he would. Yeah, get off the cross. We need the wood, Michael. But it was interesting. I was reading this. I was reading this thing in the book Inner Excellence today. And if you haven't picked that book up, I strongly suggest you pick it up, because it talks about self-centeredness. It talks about how that self-centeredness plays such a huge role in our addiction. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest problem of all this is that we can't recover when we're stuck in the addiction, and it's a pain in the balls. But the self-centered. But what happens is once we figure out that we have the physical and mental parts of this, then and realize that it's the spiritual health that we need to address, and start doing that spiritual work. That's when the recovery improves. That's when everything improves after that. You just I don't know about you, man. I just couldn't take any more of the just degrading shit I was doing. It was pretty bad. There's nothing worse than piss in the bed. Yeah. Getting punched in the face or elbowed by your significant other because you just absolutely just made a huge mess of everything at 3 o'clock in the morning because you thought you could drink until the whenever. Yeah. And then and then you're high, and then you quit drinking, and it was like I used to pretend I was sober. I would stop drinking and I would just go get Coke. And I would just do powder, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm great. And I remember leaving AA meetings and just making a left turn and going right over to the guy to get my guy Mike, who ran Wing Nuts in Cape Coral. I would go over to his house and just chip it right off the brick, take some home and whiff and not sleep for 3 days. And yeah, it was just insane, dude. And then be on the radio all day, and it was just. It was bananas, dude. The early 2000s were like, and back then, the drugs were really, really decent. Yeah. In 04, it was super clean stuff. Yeah, you'd be wired for sound. And half the guys in radio were wired for sound. Everybody you knew somebody that did something. Everybody either drank or used drugs or whatever. And then every rock star that you ever hung out with drank or used drugs. So it just became a lifestyle, which is what recovery had to be.
Yeah.
What do you got?
The dog just keeps.
I know he just
he just keeps.
I know we can see it right on the camera. We see his head just come right in, and he's
just keeps nibbling on my feet.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you put your feet on him, it's time to go. That's the beauty of this dog, old Fozzie Bear. Look, now he's chill. He's just absolutely laid out.
Shot out of a cannon.
He can be, yeah. Yeah, we should just put him on the camera just for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
What else would I wanted to talk about? I had a couple of different things. Obviously this. I would love to go through. I wish I could go through this. I wish I had time to go through this whole book. Because it talks about service to others and here, and that just plays into the selflessness, and then they talk about the 8 attachments, which God. it's just, oh, God. All I can tell people, man, is that if you are, if you're thinking about changing your life, whether that's, addiction, alcoholism, gambling, sex, or you just want to be a better human being, that book is absolutely a great start to becoming a better human being. That's something. I mean, dude, Matt got it.
Yeah.
One of my very close friends who really doesn't need that book.
Yeah.
Pretty much doesn't need anything. But is the guy that he went out and got that book because I just told him how uplifting and how inspirational it was in my life. How it changed a little bit about the way I thought about things and the way I do things, the way I address things today, and that and having good sponsorship. Having good people in my life. I can't thank Chris enough for being in my life. And all the good stuff that he does, I long for those calls, when I get a chance to talk to him, because I know he's busy and I'm busy, and then him and I trying to connect during a day is it's quite crazy, and then of course sponsoring other guys and talking to Dan and the guys that I need to discuss. It's just like, man, it's why man, it's it kind of hurts my heart about our one friend, the one that I just am trying to figure out what's going on, because, I remember when he graduated drug court, how happy he was and how hard he worked to graduate drug court. That dude, I mean, he worked his ass off. I remember him, being at meetings, 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week. And on top of going to drug court on Thursdays, on top of going to his probation or whatever. I mean, every week it was something. He was somewhere, and then graduated, and then kind of went a different direction, and
The same thing kind of happened to me. I mean, but obviously I did different shit while I was on drug court, but I don't know, dude. Sometimes when you relapse, if there's no consequence, then there's...
Yeah, but you never had consequences.
Huh?
You never had consequences until as of late.
Yeah.
I mean, because you were always spared consequences. You always found a way to get out of them. Or if your mother wasn't picking you up and saving your ass. I mean, I always told her, I was like, you got to let him experience the streets, man.
Well, yeah,
let him find that.
After the drug trafficking thing, I had to sell my car, lost my place to live,
right?
Lost everything. Now here I am on the streets of Cleveland.
Yeah,
it's just
it's the only way. That's the only way we get. You have to get. If you don't hit the bottom, you can't go up to the top.
Yeah,
it's the only way I look at it, because if I didn't hit bottom, then why stop?
Yeah,
why stop? Because I can still control and manage and but in order to get out of that, I had to absolutely crash the plane. Yeah, it took one felony. That's it. Felony possession, arrested, jail, straight to primary purpose, and from there never looked back. Yep. I was just like, fuck this, we're done. I don't ever want to go through this again.
Yeah.
No matter how bad. I don't care how good the coke is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want any. Yeah.
For sure.
And I don't care how cold the beer is. I don't want any.
Exactly.
Even though this is that weekend.
Yeah.
This is like the weekend when 4-day weekend, everybody's getting blitzed, on a Sunday because they don't have to work tomorrow. Today's the big backyard barbecue day with family. Nobody's working Monday. It's just grill, chill, and and try to find a way to recover tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
And man, I just God, I remember that shit like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If it was me or you, we wouldn't be recovering. We'd still be going the whole week.
Oh,
through work.
Fuck, I would have started Wednesday.
Through work.
Yeah, Wednesday. We would have started on Wednesday. We're pre-gaming.
Yeah.
And then when we get to Friday is like
next year.
Yeah, Friday we're like, yeah, let's just fucking. We're gonna take half a day today. I'll just get out early. Oh man, I'm not feeling good, and yeah, I got my paycheck, so let's go.
Yeah.
And then it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, you're scraping change together to find a way to get higher, to pick up something to make you feel different than you are right now. And it's it's an absolute just hamster wheel.
Never ends, seems like.
Yeah, and then right after this weekend, you got right into 4th of July. And then Labor Day's in September. I mean, it's a festival holiday, so, right? This is the banana. This is the elbow. This is, the dangerous curve here. It's Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, right into Halloween, into Thanksgiving, into Christmas, into New Year's. Yeah. And then you get a little break. You get Groundhog's Day in February, and Valentine's Day. Nobody's drinking. Nobody's really partying like that on Valentine's Day. St. Patrick's Day, you get a reprieve from January 1st to March 17th. And then you're just getting back into getting tuned up again. Yeah. And I was never the guy. Man, I couldn't take a month off. I could take a couple days off. I might be able to get a week, maybe a week. And the only reason I was able to squeeze a week in, it was because I just didn't have any money because I blew all my check. Yeah. So I was just waiting for the check to get there. Yeah. And maybe 2 weeks if you're waiting on a 2-week check. If you really went ham, then you were like getting together with your buddies, whoever had, like I used to go to my buddy Mike's house. My buddy Mike Jatsky, I would go over to his house right after we would get off to work, or Wesley, and we would go over there. We would have beers. And then from there, I would go over, stop by Mike's house on my way home, and then, grab some lines, or I'd stop by Chris's, Prophet.
Oh, yeah.
And, burn the bubble. Yeah. It's just, dude, it was just an absolute crazy. Yeah. 18 was a tough year. 18 and 19, like the beginning of 18 was brutal. And then the beginning of 19, which is when I came up to Cleveland, and we just went absolutely bananas. It was that was a tough time. And I just didn't know how I was going to get out of it. Yeah. Because right before I got on the plane, I remember I rear-ended a lady at a light, and I damaged the city truck I was driving. And I didn't tell anybody, because the guy sitting in the passenger seat next to me, who was with me, was like, we're going to have to tell somebody about this. And I was like, I don't think we do, man. I mean, she the lady got out. She looked like she was higher than pterodactyl pussy. Really? It was terrible. Her eyes were like, what happened, blah, blah, blah. And then she runs over and she looks at her mom. She's like, I had to go pick up my daughter. I was just like, oh, my goodness. Like, you're going to pick up your daughter in that shape, lady? Yeah. And here I am, critiquing her like, yeah, my God, who drives around like that? Meanwhile, I'm like, I've been up for 3 days, smoking crack, just coked out of my gourd, with this fat redheaded ginger dude sitting next to me, who's just like critiquing everything. I just rear-ended this lady because I wasn't paying attention, and it was, dude, it was terrible. And then the big one was when I got back home. Then I backed the city truck into a guy's brand new Chevy and smashed out the light. Yeah,
double
dude.
Whammy.
Double whammy. Dude, and that one, the guy called the cops, so the cops showed up. The cops called my city director. The city director called my boss. My boss comes out, picks me up, takes me to LabCorp. Oh, yeah. It was over. Yeah. It was just over, dude. It was leave the truck here. Yeah. And we'll see, we'll get back to it when we get back.
Getting out of that one.
Oh no, it was bad times, buddy. And then you get back to work, and they're like, okay, we've got 2 options for you now. You can either resign and not have this on your record, or you can fight it with the union, and then if you lose, this will be on your record for the rest of your life. Yeah. That you tested positive for cocaine for a government job. Yeah. I was like, get that resignation to you tomorrow morning. Yeah. Sound good? Sound good. Awesome. Yeah. So I wound up resigning, and there I was, And then the wife, my wife had already left. It was just, dude, it was just a downward spiral, man. I just could not recover, out of it. And then I look at myself today and I'm just like, wow, the shit, the shit I've been through, the shit everybody you've been through, everybody we know has been through. It's like everybody's been through some shit. It's how you respond to the adversity that you have been met with, really is. Because some people, many people, I shouldn't say some people, many people go into victimhood and they just keep going until.
Crazy. I can't imagine it because I don't feel I don't have that type of like
mentality. Yeah, you're like your father.
It's like hard for me to imagine how people can be like that.
Yeah. Oh, poor me, man. If you had my life, you'd be right where I'm at too.
I think of it as like, dude, look at what I've overcame. Not
the glass half full. You're the glass half full.
Yeah,
you're not the glass half empty guy.
I put myself in all those positions in the fucking first place.
I wish most people could see that, but a lot of people can't see that aspect of it. Because it's easier to be the victim than it is to put in the work and do all the shit that's necessary to create a life for yourself. Because what happens is that once you get in that victim mentality, you feel entitled, like the world owes you something. My dad left when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. I was abused. This happened to me. My mom, this, that, and the other. I failed out of school. I dropped out of this. I got fired from here. My boyfriend cheated. I mean, every reason to be a victim or my girlfriend cheated. Whatever it's going to be. Yeah. Every reason to blame. Yeah. And they say that, it's like, what was the thing that I just shared this the other day, and it was brilliant. A man can fail many, many times, but he isn't a failure until he begins to blame somebody.
Yeah.
That's when you're a failure.
Yeah.
You can fail over and over as long as you're accountable for it. Man, I failed. I fucked that up. I did that. The minute you start blaming somebody, that's when you became the failure because you're putting it on somebody else. As opposed to just owning your own shit. And I get it's so funny, dude. In recovery, it's you see all these influencer people out there. I see a lot of influencers in recovery, and there's so many people still talking about the what was done to me and blah 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 blah. Just like I've never blamed anybody. Like I was just a lying, cheating, thieving, stealing piece of shit that loved drugs, loved alcohol, didn't care who the fuck I hurt in the process, and felt so empty inside after everybody was gone and everything had fallen down around me that I was like, holy fuck, I might have a problem.
Yeah,
it's possible. It's possible that it could be me.
Yeah.
I could be it's because the alcohol is not the problem, the drug, it's me. I'm the fucking problem. Yeah. And not a lot of people want to admit that. That's why you have that constant state of denial. People talk about that, man, just in denial. It's like, people that we know, that, the medicine. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And, it's just, again, it's, poor me until you're done feeling sorry for yourself. But the problem is that a lot of people who go down the entitled victim role will put on a false sense of they're okay, but really aren't okay because they're not dealing with the stuff that they're still holding on. See, because if it's still in your repertoire to talk about the pain that you have, and that it means you never let go of it.
Yeah,
it's mean you never dealt with it. Like I don't talk about the stuff that happened to me. I don't do Facebook posts, at dusk about, my whatever it is, I'm not doing that, because it doesn't matter. It's what can I do to inspire somebody today, right now, that's tuning in, to this show, and going, hey, guess what? There's fucking hope. There's help and there's hope. The biggest thing we talked about at the beginning of the show was coming back from a relapse, that from meeting people in the rooms of, Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, when you were at the Lantern, when you were up at, up there going to meetings and people you would see, we're so happy that you're the counselors at Silver Maple.
Yeah.
We're just like, holy fuck, man, you got a chance. You're doing it. and then your probation people, man. Like I told you, man, that one probation officer that had your back, that's a guy you need to call that cat. And
he kept me out of jail, that's for sure.
He sure did, man. You had a lot of people that spared you a lot of pain.
He just always told me, you just need to get the treatment. He's like, come on, one more. What, you need to be in there by next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later.
Detox, and then come out of detox, and then here we are, same thing. He's like, come on, man, you gotta go back in there.
Yeah, just get it done, and that's the hardest part, dude. It's that's the thing is if you're tuning in right now, man, is that there is hope. All you have to do is forget what society is telling you about NA and AA and CA and HA and whatever A it is. Fuck what everybody else is saying. It's not a cult. It's a place where people will pick you up and help you. There's hope in those rooms. Yeah. There's jobs in those rooms. I can't tell you how many guys I know that or have helped new guys in recovery, especially down in Florida, man. I mean, all those cats down there that we've seen, that went into halfway and came out and started working with guys in NA, and all of a sudden they're living these great lives. They're working, they've got a job, they got a nicer place, and now they're buying houses, they got a girlfriend, they got, I just look at all the differences in life, and it's you just have to get rid of that stigma that if you don't think. I mean, here's the thing. They wouldn't be talking about Alcoholics Anonymous in the book Inner Excellence if it didn't fucking change the lives of millions of people. Yeah. And 90% of the people that are reading Inner Excellence are professional athletes that this guy has helped, who wrote books about some of the people he's helped and some of the things that have changed the lives in those people. And, that's the beauty is that there is hope on the other side of all this, man. And patience and powerlessness, man. You're a great testament for patience and powerlessness. I mean, how patient you have been for the last year to get a job, and now or before longer than that. Think of that, April. So it's been over a year since you've had a job. I mean, other than working with the pressure washing company.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I don't. Yeah. Besides the pressure washing, I haven't worked since 2019.
Yeah.
An addiction.
Been a long time.
Yeah, dude.
Been a long time.
Just out on the streets, grinding out there.
Grinding. Sleeping in cars.
Living the high life.
Yeah. Oh, the high life. Yeah.
Yeah. High life and low places.
Nothing but the best.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So that's the beauty of all that is that there is hope in the rooms of recovery. Just get yourself in there, trust a few people, and let me tell you, there are a lot of people that when you walk in there, your guard is up. You feel everybody's trying to fuck you. Everything's going to go wrong, and it's not that way. It's you just have to let down that street mentality to come in and find something that's a little bit better for you. That's going to change your life. Because all the A's get a bad rap. It's a cult. Blah blah blah. What? Because they asked you to do some work. They asked you to do 12 simple steps. I mean, fucking narcotics.
Tell you to do anything. It's all suggested.
It's all suggested. Correct. You don't have to do any of it. Yeah. You can just show up and fucking suck on the coffee and have a free donut and fucking listen to the guy talking at the table.
That's a good way to hear something, though. Is to get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get you to stay.
Start with
you like.
Start there.
Yeah.
Start there. Just go in and enjoy the. Yeah. See if it fits. See if it's your cup of tea, cup of coffee. See if it's your cup of coffee. Yeah. You go in, you have a cup of coffee, fucking have a donut, sit down, listen to what some guy has. If you don't like what you hear after you're done, fucking get in the car and beat feet. Check out another meeting somewhere else.
Yeah.
Go get somebody else's coffee, somebody else's fucking donut, and find out what that room's like.
Eventually, you'll find somewhere that you like.
Bro, eventually you're going to find several places you like. That's what my sponsor told me. Henry told me, when I gave up, when I relapsed, I was like, man, these meetings out here in Harrisonburg, there's only 15 meetings. And every one I go to, man, there's 5 guys in the meeting and 3 talk. And one's the chairperson, and He's like, well, have you been to have you gone outside your town? Have you gone out, did 15 minutes outside of there? And I'd be like, yeah, I went out to there too. I went out to Dayton and all these other areas. He's like, have you been to every meeting in the area? And I was like, no, because I don't want to do that kind of fucking work. I'm not willing to drive 30 minutes. I'm only willing to drive 5.
Yeah.
And that was the problem, is that I still had ego, hadn't lost it, didn't have the willingness to do anything and everything to stay clean, because otherwise I'd be celebrating 18 years this year.
Yeah.
It should be fucking bananas. July 7th, 2007 was my first attempt at recovery. And, I would have celebrated 18 years on July 7th. Instead, for, December 14th, I decided to go out and have a drink and let it run for 5.5 years. And here we are coming back with 6 years.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, and it is Memorial Day, though, and I want to take a minute to, and I know this is for our servicemen, but to think of all the people, the families that have lost addicts, during addiction. Fentanyl has really captured the lives of many people.
Terrible.
It has, how many, I'm sure probably a handful of people that it's taken off the street in your life.
No, probably 40, 50 people at least.
Really?
Yeah, probably. Just from being in the life I've lived, at least 40,
Yeah.
50 people.
How many people from childhood, anybody from your childhood that you grew up with?
There's like another 15 that I can just think of.
Wow.
Off the top of my head, just from the city I grew up in.
Right.
I know what I mean. Just that were close that I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To close to the
I
scene.
have people I knew in Florida. People that were in Florida that I knew. And yeah, it's just
Oh yeah. Well, you've grown up in two places. Yeah, it's Cleveland and Florida.
Yeah.
So
fentanyl's just destroyed.
Everything. Well, it's there in Ohio are like a hotbed for fentanyl right now. Huh?
It's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah. So that's the other thing is that, think about those folks today. Think about the moms. Think about the dads. Think about the sisters, the brothers that lost a sister or a brother or a son or a daughter or a mom or a dad to drug addiction. You got that. You can remember those people today too on Memorial Day, along with our servicemen and women that gave up their life for, our freedoms. Yeah, freedoms to choose.
Yeah.
I got a choice. I got a choice today. I can choose which way I want to live. can choose happiness. I can choose misery. I can choose whatever I want to do today.
Don't forget Jesse too. Yeah,
oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we lost my nephew.
Yeah,
your cousin,
who I grew up with in the same house growing up.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's baffling. It really is to think of all the people that we lost. And I know quite a few people that Mike Caraway.
Yeah.
Just recently, just another guy. I can think of too many people. Too many people that we've lost to heroin addiction or fentanyl addiction, and it's dreadful. And then I know people that drank themselves to death too. Terrible. A guy that just locked himself in his house and he just drank gallon after gallon after gallon after gallon after gallon after gallon of liquor till he finally poisoned himself to death.
What happened to my Uncle Charlie?
Yeah. Just died in his house, poisoned to death. They didn't find him for like 5 days.
Oh, geez, yeah. It's terrible.
So the skin was just falling off. Yeah, there was a lot of crazy stuff. The great news is, though, man, is that you can change your life today by making one good decision, and that's a good decision to choose to get to a meeting or choose a life of recovery as opposed to addiction. All it is a few simple steps, a few simple suggestions, a few simple meetings. The more meetings you go to, the more chances you have of staying clean. The more steps you work, the more chances you have of staying clean. The more people that you create and put around you, the more chances you have of staying clean. If you try to do this on your own, it usually ends one of two ways. You'll be either back relapsing or, wind up in jail or something else, or you're white knuckling it. And you're absolutely fucking miserable and hating the fact that you're in recovery because you don't know why you're still feeling the way you do. And it's because the willingness isn't there to do the work that needs to be done in order to feel the way you want to feel. If you look around and you go to these rooms and you see people laughing and smiling and hugging each other and high-fiving and, exchanging numbers, and you want to feel like that, then just do what those people do. That's what was always told to me, man. 90 meetings in 90 days. Look and listen for a sponsor. Find a place to call your home groups because there's no fun being homeless, and things like that. Those are just the little simple tools that will help you get and stay clean, and then and then use the numbers. If you get the sheet with all the numbers on it, call some fucking people, man. You need a ride to a meeting, call a guy. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to embrace some hope. This has been Shot of Hope Live. I'm Mickey, the kid, Jake.
I'm just Jake.
Just Jake. I love it. Just Jake and just Jake, just hanging out. And happy Memorial Day to you and yours.